Welcome to Reread. I am not doing book number 3 like I told you last time because I forgot there's a short story that happens in between. Now, originally in my timeline, I put this story afterwards because I didn't figure that Jaina would make this side trip in the middle of an adventure. In fact, I still don't see how she does it. But the authors do say that the short story in Star Wars Insider 75, Or Die Trying, happened in between these two books. I get it because it's kind of wrapping up a storyline from book number 2. But at the same time, I always imagine this happened afterwards because Jaina made a checklist in her mind. Say, once this crisis is over, or once we finally get what we need, I'm going to go hunt down the maker of this human replica droids and give them a piece of my mind or whatever. But it happens in between, so I'm not going to argue with the authors, of course. And this is an excellent story. In fact, it's sad to say it's the best thing they've written. Better than their trilogy is this very short story, because I remember the basics. I remember she came across Stanton, who is related to Dash Rendar, who reveals that Dash Rendar and Gory are behind, and they're still alive. And where they are is anyone's guess, but they're still alive. Are they together? I don't know. It kind of sounds like it. And that Gory, after the events of Evolution, totally forgot the Evolution. Evolution is mentioned a lot here. In fact, it talks about the whole project, how these human replica droids grew from Project Decoy. When I heard that, I was like, no, it's a Jedi Prince reference of the human replica droid that Triclops accidentally and almost married of Leia. And, it's so funny that was what it was called, Project Decoy. And that's how they, that was their first appearance. That's how they started. Then we get into Shadows of the Empire. Or Shadows of the Empire was first, I guess, with Guri. But then they talk about Evolution and the two people, Simonel and I've lost his name here, but I think it's Thrumble. It sounds right, Thrumble. But either way, when I heard Thrumble, I was like, wait a minute, was he from Evolution? And this is the benefit of reading them in chronological order now. Those comic books, instead of being years apart, are only months apart for me now, and so names and references are getting more. I'm remembering them more than I did the first time through, and I'd forgotten. This may be one of the only connections to the comic book Evolution, which was not that good, but this is probably one of the only connections that the comic book ever had with any other novel. So bravo for them for bringing in all these connections, making an excellent story. Stanton's trying to convince her that she should be in a human replica droid. Imagine, Jedi living for hundreds and thousands of years, and Jaina thinks that's an awful idea. And I remember this crystal clear. I remember all that crystal clear, where Stanton gets away, but even says, we'll meet again. It'll be 60 years in the future. I'll still look the same. You'll be old. Your parents will be gone. So will, your aunt and your uncle, and your kids will be grown. And then you may have a different opinion then. And I think that's awesome. And I honestly believe, I wish they would have given a story where Jaina goes back and tracks him down years later and they have another conversation. And maybe this time she decides to, arrest him. Instead, we think she's going to be a human replica droid, but then she arrests him at the end. I don't know. But it's such a beautiful, and of course he gets away. And do we need to hear the ending of this? Not really, but I would like a follow-up for 60 years later. I think that'd be awesome. This short story was blow your mind incredible. And sadly, it's better than the trilogy. I'll tell you that. The trilogy has its moments, and when I talk about the third book, because I have read the third book at this point, and when I talk about it, I'll give you my final thoughts on everything, but as all their stories go, this short story is just far above the rest. It's shorter, so it's easier to read, but at the same time, so many EU references. And I love continuity, in that they sewed continuity of the human replica droid, because Guri volunteers herself to be, the template for future droids and give them even more abilities to look more human and do more better things and be more undetectable, I guess, to the human eye. I love that. I love that idea. I love all the little continuity tropes. And, maybe the author left it open for someone else to follow up if they wanted to follow up on that story. But either way, very, very few times do I say an insider story is just solid. And I think Or Die Trying is one of them. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the reread. I like I said, I don't think I even got some of the references the first time through, except for the Dash Rendar Guri thing. But reading it a second time, I was like, oh, wow. It's even more incredible this time. So, excellent short story. Now, next up, book 3.